Blaze Kick is one of the moves that got buffed this season, so today we're going to take a look at Lucario with exactly this move. This is not really the moveset that you might want to play during this cup, I have to say, because Power Punch looks maybe a little bit better, but let's take a look what we can do here. Of course, we're going to have now available the Fantasy Cup for the Great League Edition here, and we're going to run again our Azumarill in the lead. Yes, Azumarill is going to be pretty common as well against you, but also like on a lot of teams. It is sadly, for a lot of Steel types, the only Pokemon, other than of course like Tapu Fini, that you can put into the lead and to balance out the team. Otherwise you're just going to have an unbalanced team that has a lot of weaknesses. But yeah, today we're going to take a look at also my shiny variant of the Lucario with the new move Blaze Kick. This Pokemon is supposed to be our sweeper for this team here, and you don't want to use it as your Saisob. Your Saisob is the Escavalier, and I have to say the MVP of this video and of this team in general is Escavalier with the move Acid Spray. And you're going to see it here immediately. This Pokemon is so great at just debuffing the opponent, and if the opponent only has one Pokemon left, like, they cannot do anything. Look at this Azumarill, like, they're going to have a shield advantage here, not like, actually they're going to have a double shield advantage now, I think, after this one, because they're going to go for the Ice Beam and decide to use a shield. But like, what is the double shield advantage going to do for you if your defense is dropped by 4 stages? Like, what do you want to do? And look at the counter damage, and so the opponent also realizes, yeah, this game is over and we can say good game to them. Let's take a look at the next opponent. They're also going to run a shiny Lucario. That's going to be a very wild one as the opponent swaps out into a Grand Ball, and I'm not going to swap out here. Like a lot of people, like a lot of players just would swap out if they see a Fairy type swapping in, but Snarl Grand Ball is something that gets completely hardwalled usually by the Azumarill, so I don't mind staying in. And of course against the Lucario, our own Lucario is neutral, and our Escavalier has a great matchup, so there's no reason for me to swap out of here, and the opponent is going to go down there with a shield disadvantage, so I have realignment. We still have more HP than most of the opponent's Pokemon there as well, so you're going to see what they have in the bag now, which is going to be the Wigglytuff. And at this point, this game is over. Like, I can tell you that already, this team is going to be able to beat them all. By the way, also, here today, every battle that I played is going to be in this video, so there's nothing cut out, everything, like every good thing, every bad thing, and there are also some bad plays that I did. You're going to see them all, and we can take a look at them, which is kind of always nice to see, because yeah, there's nothing cut out. This is exactly how this team going to work, and this team definitely does work pretty well, I have to say. Here the opponent runs the Power Punch instead of the Blaze Kick, but let's move on to the next opponent, as this was a pretty easy victory. Next opponent, we're going to have a great lead of Flygon. Shadow Flygon is going to be very good for us, as we're gonna be able to just go for the Ice Beam, and Ice Beam would get the easy knockout, being double super effective against both the ground as well as the dragon type. They're gonna go for the Scorching Sands, they don't get the debuff, which in this case does not really matter anyway, as the Ice Beam is gonna get the shield from the opponent. What we kinda want to do here is we kinda usually want to keep your Azumarill alive, but it's actually okay, because Escavalier, unless they're going to have a Fire type in the back, which is pretty unlikely because it's only Turtonator, and Turtonator is also a Dragon type Pokemon, we're going to be fine here. But even against Turtonator at this point, we still would be able to reach another charge move like a Drill Run and get them insanely low with that, and then knock them out with the Lucario. But they're actually going to have in the back the Azumarill, and again, the Acid Spray is going to come in clutch here. We're going to be able to hit this one, and we're going to be able to just go ahead and go for a Drill Run afterwards, and I can just use a Shield here to keep my Pokemon alive. They have the Play Rough, which would have not knocked me out, but it doesn't really matter, because I wanted to just keep my Escavalier healthy, because I feel like this Pokemon has a lot to do. But also, I make a huge mistake here, which you're going to see afterwards, because I just didn't pay attention too much there. I went for the charge move. I could have went for the full farmland, I'm fairly certain. But yeah, I was kind of annoyed myself there as well. The opponent's going to have the Registry in the back. It doesn't matter, we win this game. But like, still, those small bits there kind of always annoy me. One Pokemon that also kind of annoys me is this Pokemon that we're battling right now. Maybe I'm making a showcase towards this one as well, but Slurpuff is actually kind of wild. This thing is really strong. It's a very neutral Pokemon. Basically can hit everything on every kind of team, because like this Pokemon has access to the moves Energy Ball plus Flamethrower, making it the most consistent lead. Well, you can actually use a Say Swap, and if you have a little bit of energy advantage, you can actually realign against even a Registeel, which is kind of wild. So like, you have to be a little bit lucky as well with like Zapcan debuffs, but honestly, like, this Pokemon is really underrated for this meta so far. I'm forced to use another shield. Have their own Azumarill now. I'm going to hope that they are not running the move Hydro Pump, which would be really decent for us if they don't do this, because like this, they're going to not knock me out. But here we're going to have a CMP tie, which is going to be great, as the Drill Run after the double debuff is going to do a ton of damage against the opponent. We will see that they're going to go for their own charge move, which is going to be the Hydro Pump, which is going to be a little bit annoying. But we can swap into our own Azumarill, and I kind of want to wait until they throw their own charge move here. But then I decided to still go for my own charge move. I think this is a CMP tie that we can win with our IV spread, which is kind of wild. But we can see here the opponent having the Registeel in the back. And sadly, at this point of time, there's no way of us winning this game, as the Azumarill has nothing against Registeel, and Registeel just going to be able to knock us out here. And so this is going to be a good game. Let's take a look at the next opponent. We're going to have the Skarmory in the lead, which is going to be a fairly decent lead in general. Like, the entire team is kind of neutral against it. But we're going to swap out now into our good friend, the Escavalier. As the opponent decides to swap out, we can go for the Acid Spray here against the opponent's Hexorus. Sadly, we got the attack drop, because I think without the attack drop, we might have been able to knock them out before, yeah, for sure. But sadly, they can still go for another charge move here. It's going to be the Surf. And I have to let this move go through. I can still get at least one more bubble in here, but I kind of rely on my Pokemon in the back onto the Lucario, which is going to be able to resist the fast move of the opponent, as well as you're going to have the super effective move as well, but they are going to swap out into the Flygon. And this is going to be a little bit tricky now, because Flygon is going to have access to ground type moves, of course, but they're also very fast at charging up. And so we're going to see the Dragon Claw coming through here, going to get the shield. They can only go for another Dragon Claw here. This is not going to be anything bigger than that. But our health is already low enough that the opponent can just farm me down afterwards. I cannot get to another move, which would be really decent if we would have been able to do that. But here we can see Skarmory, it's already pretty low, and I kind of want to go up to 99 energy, but I kind of chickened out of here and went for my move a little bit too early, which was most likely a mistake, but does it really cost me the game? I'm not sure. They have to go for 2 Brave Birds here. It's not enough to go for 1 Sky Attack and then a Brave Bird. They have to go for 2 Brave Birds, and they don't get there, and so we're going to be able to win this game here, and we can move on into the next one. Next opponent coming through, we're going to have another Azumarill lead here, which is going to be kind of decent for us. We can still stay in. What you kind of want to do in this scenario is, you kind of want to go up and of course just go for the Play Rough, but you kind of want to catch a Play Rough on the 3rd iteration. So like basically you want to go for 2 Play Roughs first, and then try to catch the 3rd onto your Escavalier, because then the opponent should be in range where you can at least nearly farm them down, maybe actually fully farm them down with counter, but also of course the Play Rough plus Ice Beam going to be resisted on you, and you might be able to get out the opponent, but like it is definitely worth it to keep the energy on the Azumarill. And let's see if we're going to be able to do this here successfully. We're going to try to catch onto the Play Rough, and this is exactly what we tried to do, which didn't work out. And here I'm making a huge mistake. I should have went for, oh never mind, actually gonna go for the full farm now, which is okay. I thought I would have went for the Drill Run here instead of the Acid Spray, but I didn't go for anything. And so I'm actually going to be able to just go for another Acid Spray against the opponent's Azumarill, which is going to get them fairly decently in a position where actually if I went for 1 fast move before, then went for the Acid Spray, I would have been actually able to get to another move here, which would have been great. But you can try to go for the full farm run against the opponent, which does work out somehow. And they're only going to have a Registeel in the back, and the Registeel will not have the greatest time against us, as we can go for the Blaze Kick. You have 2 Blaze Kicks stored. First one gonna get shielded, second one does not get shielded. And with this game is over. We can go for a ton of damage here, buffed Blaze Kick, and the opponent decides to forfeit this game. Next opponent coming through, let's see what they're going to have here. We're going to have the Azumarill in the lead, which is going to be okay for us, I would say. But yeah, again, we're going to do basically the same as I said before. We're going to try to go for 2 Play Roughs and then try to catch on the 3rd Play Rough into our Steel type, which should be able to take only resisted damage over it. We can still keep the energy then in the lead, which is going to be great for the backline most likely. But let's take a look at this. We're going to do exactly the same. You kind of want to get them a little bit lower, so we're going to go for another Play Rough here. But now, as you're going to see, the opponent is usually going to win CMP die against me anyway because of the IV spread that I have. And we're going to try to now catch the move onto our Escavalier. Does it work this time around? It does, and this is kind of how you want to try this one out. If you can knock them out in like 7 counters, that would be nice, but usually they swap out anyway. And here, for example, I should go for the Acid Spray. It was like such a clear move from the opponent to use a shield here. This was so silly. This was kind of was mistaken before. at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because I think they're in one counter range anyway. Might have been able to counter him down though with the Escavalier then. I don't think so. I think it actually didn't matter, but still kind of could have played it a little bit better at least. And here we're going to see also where maybe the energy that we just gained on our Azumarill comes in clutch later on, because let's see, we can try to catch the move here, but it doesn't work out. They can still go for the charge move, but it's just going to be the Rock Slide. And now they decide to swap out into the Azumarill. I predict this and going to for my own charge move here basically. Going to be able to knock them out, but sadly I should have let them get some more bubble damage through, because now they can go for the full farm down and it's going to be way closer than I want to. But at this point I know that I win, because I am 2 fast moves away, and from a Rock Slide you always have to still go for 2 fast moves to get to an Earthquake. So no matter what they did there, I was able to win this game and we can move on to the next one. Let's see if the next opponent is going to be a little bit more of a challenge. We will see here the Azumarill in the lead, which is going to be, again, the same as we see before. Like, there are so many Azumarills in the lead. Maybe I'm going to try a team out that is going to handle those Azumarills. You might see it on my channel tomorrow, we have to see it. But let's take a look at this one. We're going to be able to go for the player off against the opponent, as we gonna try to do exactly the same again. We're gonna try to go for another player off afterwards, as we are in the same spot kinda here. The opponent is going to win the CMP tie, not really too surprising, and we can just try to catch the move onto the Escavalier. Counting to 60 at this point, 6 fast moves is all they need. I try to catch and it does work out again. And I think there might actually be in range where I can farm them down. They actually can be an 8 counter range. If it's an 8 counter range, which they are here, I think, this is going to be fine as well. So yeah, we're going to see the Stunfisk coming back in, which is great, because now we're going to have energy on my lead. I have a ton of energy here, and I can even use a shield because I don't really care too much about it. I can just get them a little bit lower, and I will get another shield for another drill run most likely here, as I try to go for the CMP time. Didn't work out, and we will see the opponent having to use another shield. I could use another shield here as well, but I decided not to do that because I wanted to get extra energy onto my Lucario, our sweeper, because energy on Lucario is kind of nice because the Shadow Ball does do a ton of damage. But what we also can do here is we can snipe them with the energy that we stored onto our Azumarill, and now they're going to have a Registeel in the back, and what do they want to do? Like, honestly, at this point, we just have to get them a little bit lower. We have, of course, access to the move Blaze Kick, which is going to do super effective damage. Counter is going to do super effective damage. We're still going to do a ton of damage actually here with Bubble. The opponent does the only correct play in trying to go for the full farm down here, but we already put them into range for the Blaze Kick at this point. Like, there's not a lot that they can do about it, especially with the counter damage coming up. This is going to be easily enough, as you're going to see as well. Zap Cannon doesn't even get the debuff, and this Blaze Kick is all it takes, and we can win this game. Let's move on to the next opponent. We're going to see the Registeel here, as we can now swap out immediately into the Escavalier, and in comes the Flygon. And I'm fairly certain that they want to use a shield here, and so we're going to not allow really the opponent to have any players. We're gonna go for the assets where we can just go for the full farm down now. I don't mind. I thought about not shielding this one because it's very likely a bait, and it was a bait, so I was kind of at this point, could have saved my one shield there, but they're gonna go for another charge move afterwards, which we have to shield anyway. And I just take realignment, because even if they go into the Registeel here, have fun taking those charge moves, have fun taking those drill runs. But honestly, Escavalier is just completely destroying the opponent, getting another knockout here. And let's see what's going to be in the back. It's going to be the Weezing, but also this is like another acid spray, which is kind of wild. And so the opponent is going to be in a spot where they are dropped into the defense. They cannot swap out anymore basically, and they still have to deal with my Azumarill, which they cannot really knock out either, and so they decide to forfeit this one. Final game for today. Like, honestly, this team was really solid. We're going to see a great lead force, but I maybe misplay this one a little bit. You have to see about it. Yeah, definitely misplay this a little bit. But yeah, we're going to see something that I definitely should have done a little bit better. You're going to see a normal matchup against the Azumarill. Of course, we're going to have one fast move advantage over the opponent, which is kind of decent. So basically, if we want to keep some energy onto our own Azumarill, we kind of want to swap out one earlier, but like one later actually, one later. But I think, yeah, I'm just going to swap out here, which is perfect because I catch the move, which is great actually. So it's going to be a player I've caught onto our Cavalier, and I try to go for another charge move here, and I should try to go for the acid spray, but I go for the drill run. This is a huge mistake. This literally is going to be very, very costly, because if I got the acid spray off and got the debuff there, like the ice beam would have easily been able to knock them out. This player easily would have been able to knock them out. The bubble damage would have just added up like crazy, but like this we are forced to use a shield, and this is going to change quite a bit for the matchup in general. And so this was a huge mistake by me, definitely something that I could have done better. And we see in the back the Reggie Seal, and this is going to be now a very tough matchup. I'm going to be able to still go for the Blaze Kick, but at the end of the day, they're still going to have their other Pokemon left there, and they let this move go through? Maybe there's still a chance now. I'm not sure if this was the correct play as the opponent decides to go into the Azumarill. I think they thought that I had Power Punch, and this is where I guess Blaze Kick really comes in clutch, as the opponent has to use a shield now onto the Azumarill, I guess. Do they? They do not, and so I can get 2 more counters in, which is gigantic, because it can go for the full bubble down, and with this we're gonna be able to win this final game. As you can see, this team was absolutely amazing, definitely something that I would recommend you to try out, especially Acid Spray onto the Escavalier. This is going to be it for this video, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like and check out the 2 videos on the screen. I'll see you then, bye bye.